What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the TheDomCast, episode 22 this should be. This week we've got no Rod, no Eric. I'm going solo. I am going solo for the first time in, wow, it might have been like episode 10 or 11 before I brought Eric on. And yeah, Eric is sick this week. Rod was busy, and honestly there's nothing going on in the summer, man. There is no basketball news, very dry. I imagine these sports shows are probably like grasping for straws right now, which I'm not gonna do, by the way. This may be your first time watching the Domcast because I have advertised it in a couple of places that I've never mentioned it before. So normally Domcast is all basketball because that's all you need during the season. There's plenty to talk about, and I started it during the end of last season around February or March. However, I'm going to amend it a little bit for the summer, so I'm going to be talking a little bit of basketball. The questionnaire thing doesn't really work that well anymore because, well, just for the off season, people are asking the same questions and they're asking about things that I have talked about at one time or another. So I've just got a couple of basketball topics I'm probably going to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about a wide variety of topics. If I get to it, right? If I'm running long and the basketball got me to the time that I needed, then whatever. But until the NBA starts back, you're talking about anything, media, general topics that I've been asked about, YouTube topics that I've been asked about, pretty much anything except politics. As interesting as that would be, even I found myself getting a little bit tired of it over these last, like the last year or two or whatever. I've been somewhat active, but when I realized it's starting to affect my daily life, I'm like, yeah, let me take a break real quick. So anyways, you get the gist of it. If you've been watching the show before, for the rest of the off season it is not going to be purely basketball, and if you're just joining, well, then you won't really notice a difference. Welcome. This show is on iTunes and Spotify as well, so if you find it easier to digest there, links will be in the comment section and the description for that. And to kick the pod off today, we're actually going to talk a little bit about Carmelo Anthony because that happened to be a topic that popped up this morning actually. Carmelo Anthony was on First Take with Stephen A. Smith, and this was a blessing, man. I was so happy to see it. I wish that they would do this more often. Let players come on and tell their story, because if you've been following me for a while now, mostly throughout this season, you know that I have really been, the Carmelo Anthony situation has been one that's made me extremely curious because I don't know what the hell happened. I grew up watching Melo, obviously been watching basketball since the early 2000s, and I've seen everything from Melo, the good, the bad, the ugly. I've seen him in his days in Denver when he was giving LeBron problems one-on-one, seen him on his days with the Knicks where their best season was getting bounced in the second round by the Pacers. That's a year that we thought maybe they could have made the finals. Probably not. We thought they were just going to give the Heat maybe a good Eastern Conference Finals matchup. Then I experienced the rest of his career, which is kind of bled into where he is now, where he is not really in the NBA anymore. We don't know if he ever will be. And the reason I was so happy to hear him speak out, even though it didn't answer all my questions, it's because something like what happened to him in Houston just made no sense to me. And I'll say, if you haven't seen the interview, you can search it up. You can find it really easy. All the videos just dropped today. And even in the interview, it wasn't 100% clear why he was let go by Houston. Now we have a couple more details about it. It was a situation between him and Daryl Morey where Morey basically came out and said, your services are no longer needed, and they just relieved him of his duties. He was just no longer on the team after 10 games. During his stint with Houston, he only shot 14%. He was averaging 13 points a game. But to his point, he was just kind of saying how it was an ego hit for him because after Daryl Morey came and said, we don't need your services anymore, he was just kind of wondering like, wow, I can't make this, in his words, 9-man rotation. Which I think a lot of us feel that way, right? Like, Melo is still an NBA player. If you look at some of the people that are in the NBA, there's players out there that it doesn't make sense that they are on a team but Carmelo Anthony is not. So although you may not really think he's great anymore or that he's going to put your team over the top or anything, but the point is he should be able to make a team. And see, I thought we had the answers a couple of weeks ago when Chauncey Billups came out and said that he told Carmelo Anthony himself he once cared too much about scoring. The whole quote about how he would score 30 points and they would lose and he would be all upbeat, but if they won and he had less than 30 points then he would not be that happy. Anthony got a chance to respond to those quotes and he said, look, the way he explained it was that he felt the best way that he could help his team on a nightly basis was scoring as much as humanly possible. That's basically what he said. So that's how he tries to explain it. But even then, Melo admits, you know what? He was young back then. He was like 23 or 24 years old. At least he says that's not his mindset now. He says that coming off the bench is something that he came to terms with in Houston, that he was able to get past and that he wasn't going to have a problem with, something that he wouldn't have a problem problem with now. And also, he was like, basically he didn't understand why Chauncey Billups would come out and make those comments at a time like this, because we're now at a time where Melo narratives have been negative probably for like a year plus, right? You know, the internet, especially Twitter, NBA Twitter, anytime they're slandering somebody, it always makes a player worse. Most of the times it makes a player worse than they actually are. So then you have a voice who we actually give some credit to, who we actually give some validity to in Chauncey Billups, and at a time like that he comes out with a quote talking about something in Melo's early 20s. If I was Melo, I'd be pissed. I'd have had to hit him up and be like, bro, what you doing? I'm trying to get a job out here and you bringing up shit from the past. Why? So I do kind of question why Chauncey Billups even made those comments if that's not Melo's mindset now. Or maybe Chauncey thinks that that is Melo's mindset now and Melo is trying to save face. I don't know. My point with the whole Melo discussion is it's just weird because you guys are aware of Chris Jackson, right? The guy who changed his name to Muhammad. I can't even pronounce his full name. He was the shooter. The guy could shoot like Curry in the 90s. And the NBA basically blackballed him because of his stance with the national anthem. So that, at least right there, you know that there's something that happened and the player was blackballed from the league. Whereas what confused me with Melo is he had a few years where he wasn't efficient anymore. He's not really that good, starting pretty much as he was wrapping up his Knicks days and then moving on to the Oklahoma City Thunder. But what's missing is the big event. Like, why would Melo just be blackballed? Why would no team be willing to give him a chance? Why would the Rockets be willing to just sever ties with him 10 games into the season? Because that still wasn't cleared up today. That was not cleared up with Carmelo Anthony on the show. There was no clear answer. The only thing he said is that Morey told him basically they were done and that it wasn't working out. So I don't even know. Maybe we can hear Daryl Morey's side of the story. He said that he reached out to Chris Paul about it, and CB3 assured him that he would never do anything like that to him and that he had no clue. So in other words, Chris Paul had nothing to do with him being kicked off of the team, essentially. So you see how ambiguous that is and how there's just like there's really no answers for it. And the one thing I look at and say is, and this was kind of addressed on the show with Stephen A, he's talking about how, well, one headline I saw is that he's talking with his representatives are talking with the Lakers and Clippers about possibly joining the team. And we know how tight him and LeBron are, right? And so I know Melo, or at least I think I know that Melo is not so terrible that he's not worthy of a roster. And so him and LeBron are supposed to be these super close friends. That's why I say I've always thought Melo was going to end up on the Lakers, especially because their roster is really not all that deep. So if you're going to have him on a team that has LeBron and AD on it and he understands his role, maybe, just hear me out, all the Melo slander guys, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but just maybe he can provide something. Especially if it's just going to be spot up shooting, which is all he will really need to do on a team with LeBron James. And so it was very brief, but on the show he basically said like, yeah, LeBron is my boy and all, but I can't just depend on him to give me a spot in the 15-man rotation because we know these are very sought after jobs, right? NBA jobs, very sought after. So of course you can't just hand it to him or whatever, but knowing that there's a role that needs filling on a Lakers team and knowing that they're such good friends and thinking that Melo could probably fill that role, that's where it's like, okay, what are we missing here? The same thing that we're missing with him being kicked off the Rockets that's going to keep him off of a role on a team like the Lakers. What are we missing here? And it's not just that he is just sloppy trash that just can't play NBA basketball anymore. I'm not on that side. Maybe some of y'all are, but I'm just not. So anyways, yeah, I just wanted to address some of the Melo situation since that came out today, since that was news. Being that it's August 2nd, we still have like a good month and a half before any other real news comes out. We actually did get the Christmas schedule today too. And I can't say that I am that disappointed. I only saw one questionable matchup. Here, let me read you the schedule real fast. So what I have right here is the Clippers and Lakers. Thank you basketball gods. Pelicans, Nuggets, Celtics and Raptors. Bucks and Sixers, then the Rockets and the Warriors. Alright. The only one here that I would just say is a flat out bad matchup, like why is this here on Christmas Day, is the Celtics and Raptors. I love my Celtics, and even think, with Kemba Walker, maybe we were deserving of a Christmas Day schedule, but why are we playing the Raptors without Kawhi Leonard? He left. I found this funny. I tweeted it out immediately because my whole thing was, y'all are gonna wait this long. Like, the Raptors have now been atop the East for how long? They've been near the top of the East since what, 2016, 17? They've always been like the second best team there. And you wait until they lose their main star, so they don't have DeRozan anymore, and they don't have Kawhi, and now you put them on primetime. Now you give them a Christmas Day game. And it's so funny, I actually had tweeted about this way before. I tweeted this back when Kawhi was still a Raptor. I believe it was actually during the finals. And I joked, I said that the Raptors are going to be in the finals and somehow still not get a Christmas Day game. Well, they got it, but Kawhi's not there anymore. Why are they playing on Christmas? I mean, unless Pascal Siakam is going to break out and become their superstar all of a sudden. I don't know. I just don't get that one. The rest of these, of course, you know, we would have had to riot. We would have had to show up at the NBA headquarters doorstep if the Clippers and Lakers did not play. Oh God, I cannot wait for that. On Christmas Day, that is so special. I'm going to savor every last minute of that game. So that's a treat. The Pelicans and Nuggets, originally when I tweeted, I was also like, why is this a Christmas Day game? Because don't get me wrong, it's a good matchup. That's great basketball, I'm assuming. Pelicans got a good young team, and then you got Zion. Then of course you got the Nuggets, and I'm not sure if Michael Porter Jr. will be playing by then, but either way, you got Jokic there. So initial reaction was, why is this a Christmas Day matchup? But it's still, for someone like me, look, I'm a basketball junkie, so I can appreciate that. Just I don't know that I really wanted it on Christmas. I think you could have done something better there. But hell, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe you couldn't have, because the Nets don't have KD this year, so having them on Christmas Day probably would not have been that exciting. Kyrie is always exciting basketball, but out of the Western teams left, maybe that was the best they could do. Of course, the Bucks and the Sixers, which we assume this year will be the top two in the East, because we don't know what the Celtics are going to look like. We're assuming the Raptors have dropped off, and the Nets, again, no KD just yet, so we are assuming these are the two top dogs of the East. Could have easily have been a conference finals matchup. And then the Rockets and Warriors. Hey, that's pretty cool. I'm expecting to see a Super Steph appearance this year, because without Klay Thompson, KD has moved on. Maybe we get something close to 2016 Steph. I'm not fully expecting just flat out 2016 Steph. Maybe I made a mistake and said that in the past, but without Klay Thompson on the floor, spacing is not going to be the same. Spacing is just not going to be the same in general. This team is not even as good as the one that they were dishing out in 2016. So there was a lot of factors where there were situations set up for him to be as successful as he was. I don't think you had that this year, but still maybe something close. And to see him go head to head with Westbrook and Harden, hey, that's always fun. Rockets can finally get a little bit of revenge and maybe even be able to beat Golden State now that KD is gone. So there are your Christmas Day matchups. Let's pivot and talk about NBA 2K20. If you've been watching the videos on my second channel, this will be an especially interesting topic to you, because you have now been introduced into the world of NBA 2K mods. You've seen graphic mods, you've seen players and teams that will probably never be in 2K, you've seen all that type of stuff, and that's put me in an interesting position because I'm slowly gravitating towards PC gaming a little bit more, and particularly with 2K because, secret, I'm gonna let you in on this. I did not play NBA 2K19 a whole lot this year. I really did not. I tried everything. I did. Of course, my career is always the first thing I try because I'm interested to see if it's gonna, capture my attention, which it never really does. I tried my team, and once they were dishing out like once I was playing huge lineups with like Paul George at point guard, I was out. I was like, I'm not going to spend money towards this mode. People play, it's not, the mode is really about exploits more than it is actual basketball. So once I got frustrated enough with that, quit playing my team. Play Now Online was garbage from release. I tried to play it, I tried to do videos with it, and I could not in good faith make Play Now Online videos because the mode itself was so bad with the little tweaks that they made this year that it made it impossible to get matchups where, because what I do is I play live, right? I don't do my commentary after the game. I try to play it live as if I was streaming. And so I'm sitting here in, let's say, June, because that's when I was gonna think, after the season ended, I was thinking, hey, I'm gonna do a bunch of Play Now Online videos. And I'm sitting here in the middle of June trying to make a 90, what Hornets team do they have in there? The Alonzo Mourning Hornets versus the 19 Hawks. I'm sitting here trying to commentate and make that an interesting commentary, and I just couldn't do it. I put it away. I tried my league this year on 2K19. I did. I played my league, and you go offline, and what do you run into? You realize that illegal screens are glitched, and 2K never took the initiative to fix them this year. They're actually glitched, not just oh, they make me angry and this and that. No, they're actually glitched. Follow me on Twitter right now. One of the last videos I posted was something a fan sent me where essentially his computer, his screener, stiff-armed a player that was like away from the ball too, and they called it an illegal screen. I've documented it plenty of times on the second channel. You've seen the illegal screens where your guy is standing dead still, then the guy trying to go through the screen literally goes through your player and they call it an illegal screen. So as I'm trying to do my yearly My League, that's happening at important times. I'm having my players get in foul trouble because of 2K's glitch, so that turned me away. I couldn't play my league anymore. And so finally, the last thing I do is I hop on my PC, and this is about 2-3 weeks ago, and I start tinkering around with mods again. because I really didn't have time during the season. During the season, I'm trying to run 2 channels and I'm just doing a lot of barbershop talk, so I didn't really have time for just kind of like, you know, freelance 2K. So I got on mods, and man, the modding community is just so talented. Shout out to Thunder Shack on Twitter. He's a guy who helped me out with some mods, and he did an amazing thing called the Ultimate Roster, where you can just have all kinds of teams that will probably never be in the game just because of contract issues. You don't have to worry about any of that with mods because these guys are making the players. I had teams like the 14 Spurs, the 13 Lakers, Michael Jordan on the Washington Wizards. Who would want that? But it's there, right? You got modders doing amazing stuff with the actual basketball itself. So this is just weird, right? Because this is just attention to detail. But since I've been playing 2K with mods and graphic mods over the last, 3 weeks, the basketball looks like a real basketball. It has ridges and stuff like that. So where the ball, where it goes from like the ball to the seams and there's a little ridge, you can actually see that on the PC, whereas on the PlayStation, the ball is just kind of flat all around. For some reason, I don't know. Is that too difficult for the game designers to push on the console hardware? I don't think so, but they don't really detail the ball. It just kind of looks like it's just flat. That's something that's gonna bother me now because I've been playing on PC. And so they release all these hype trailers, right? They release Zion Williamson. I'm looking at the basketball and stuff, and I'm looking at the graphics, and I'm like, damn, I might have shot myself in the foot messing with mods so much, because it's not really the game designer's fault, but I don't think there's anything they can do that's actually going to impress me now. I've already been playing with Zion Williamson. I'm playing with the 2010 Lakers, who we've been waiting on in 2K forever, and we're probably not going to get because of contract issues. I'm doing all these things, and check this out. There's a very simple thing. Now, this is the game designer's fault. So again, because people aren't playing online and the games are so heavily focused on microtransactions now and what you can do online, it's like they just don't care what happens offline anymore. If they can't make money off the mode, it seems they don't pay attention to it. It seems that's how Play Now Online really lost its luster. But check this out. So offline, say you want to do a playoff tournament, 16 teams. So that could be anything, right? What if I just wanted to do a playoff tournament with all-time teams? Something as simple as that. That's the mode that I'm talking about. For some reason on that mode, with the store release of the video game, you cannot use custom rosters. So if I want to do a throwback playoffs with, with just custom rosters, say I want to download a roster on the PlayStation 4 and some guy has made, to the best of his ability, the 2010 Lakers. I can do that, but then there's no option for me to load a custom roster into the playoffs, into that playoff bracket, into that playoff tournament. That's something that modders made possible. That helps somebody like me that's a creator and that maybe wants to create videos. Of course, it's too late now. Next game comes out in a month. I'm not going to do that. But I found that out. I found a whole tutorial on how, with this guy's mod menu, which it shouldn't come down to that, but I'm having to use the modding community to do something as simple as load custom rosters into the playoffs. How many of you follow King Sean? King Sean, I saw probably like 5 months ago. He was doing a My Career. Yeah, he was doing a My Career with Zion Williamson, Cyberface. And so Cyberface is actually the whole thing. It's not just his face, it's his body, it's the actual character. So he had Zion on the Knicks with Kyrie and KD back when we thought that could have been a thing. That's the type of world that you unlock with mods. You do all this fun creative stuff that if you can imagine it, you can probably find a way to do it. And because of that, this year I'm kind of looking at 2K20 like, man, I don't know what the creative process is this year for me with videos on here, because first of all, I'm gonna get the game. It's just not going to look as good as what I've been playing with. It's not gonna look as good, it's not gonna feel as good. And as I'm recording this on August 2nd, we don't have a ton of news. The only news we've really gotten so far, it sounds like they're doing something pretty cool with MyGM, which I never really use, but now you're going to be able to compare your progress with your franchises to people online who are also playing the same mode. That's pretty cool. That's pretty innovative. I give points for stuff like that. I don't grade as hard as other consumers because some people just like don't appreciate anything that game designers do. That kind of stuff is cool to me. I heard they're ditching archetypes. I think that was the title of Agent Zero's video. Again, I never really get captivated by My Career, so that kind of stuff just doesn't really appeal to me. It doesn't really matter that much. I'm gonna try it out and see what I can do. But I haven't really heard anything else though. Like, what are you doing to fix Play Now Online this year? That's the most basic form of fun in any video game, is just playing someone else online, and 2K has made that. They made it so that people don't even use the mode. The most simple form of fun people don't use because they complicated it so much. And then last year, their big addition on NBA 2K19 was saying, hey, you can do player control now. So, obviously when you go online, you have team control and you can just play regular basketball, but then you can do player lock online. And I never played it one time. I never played it. I don't know why that was supposed to be enjoyable, or, that wasn't even the change they needed to make the mode interesting or just make it playable again. So we will be awaiting more news on 2K20. If you weren't aware, they did hire some modders. Well, I only know of one modder that they hired. His name is Razor. Look him up on YouTube. I think it's R4 and then ZOR. The 4 replacing the A, and he just did incredible cyber faces, like for LeBron, for everybody. He fixes everyone up, makes them look better than the actual game designers themselves. So I know he's actually working with 2K this year, and so from what I've seen from the trailers, like again, consumers are so critical. I understand 2K deserves their fair share of criticism, but I tweeted out like, well, at least just from the trailer, the game looked really good. And you know, everyone's just so damn pessimistic and negative about that one tweet. And I was really, again, I guess you have to spell everything out on Twitter. I was really talking about the way the players look, because I'm grading with the fact that these are consoles and not PC. That's one thing, because someone brought up the fact that, hey, you know, your mods look better than this. Yeah, that's on PC. Consoles can't do that. But the actual players themselves, I'm paying special attention to that, and they look amazing. They look like the work of a modder. That's my opinion. And it's just so funny to have grown up with 2K, because here, you know, that whole thread is full of people talking about, oh, this doesn't look that good. It looks the same, da 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 da. And pay attention to Anthony Davis in that trailer, right? AD looks as spot on and as accurate as I think you could possibly make a game character look. Like maybe they could tweak it a little bit, but Anthony Davis looks highly accurate. And I'm just thinking about growing up with NBA 2K13, where Kevin Durant didn't even look like KD. And I knew it back then too. I was looking at KD's cyberface back when I was a kid playing 2K13, like, man, this really doesn't look that good. And I'm thinking about growing up with those, and now you have these graphics that are so lifelike and so realistic that since they don't improve much on these consoles anymore, I don't think the graphics ever really improved after NBA 2K14. Okay, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. The overall look of the game itself didn't improve, but cyber faces and bodies and detail, that definitely got better. I've done personal research on that for videos, and that definitely improved. But yeah, I'm just thinking about how good we've had it relatively, and how people just aren't impressed, and it's like, man, these game designers have a hell of a job. At least just the character designers, because again, they are lazy in certain places, but as far as just the look of the game and realism, it's like, bro, be thankful we're not stuck with NBA Live, like at least. Not only has NBA Live not released a great product in many years, but they don't even have a consistent release date. I don't know if you've heard, but NBA Live 20 is due to release in a window between October and December 31st. So I tweeted out sarcastically, again, if you follow me on Twitter, please take a lot of things I say in jest. Don't take it so literally, because I tweeted out once I saw that window, I was like, in other words, this game is canceled, just because NBA Live has been canceled when they've given windows like that before. So we've got no news on NBA Live, no screenshots. The only thing we had was a leak that Luka Doncic was going to be the cover athlete. We don't actually have that confirmed. That's interesting. So yeah, I'm not expecting NBA Live to come in and save us. That would be amazing if they did, because the places that 2K is lazy on, you know, just think back to NBA 2K11, back when they were still kind of like tussling with NBA Live, when people would still maybe play it. That's around the 2009 to 2011 era, and that's when 2K was constantly making strides and constantly trying to, you know, uplift every portion of their game, which they just don't do anymore. And that kind of stuff always makes me wonder, because, you know, there's a lot of just noise out there and nonsense and people just mad that they're bad at the game, but there's also a lot of good feedback out there as well. And so we have the internet, we have YouTube, and we have this thing where creators can go look at what people are saying. And for there to be simple things wrong with the game, that's where I get confused. And so the simple things I mentioned in this podcast, like the illegal screens, Play Now Online being unbearable, those are things that they could easily fix. You know, the illegal screens could be patched, and the Play Now Online, those considerations, Play Now Online hasn't been right since like 2K, what, 16 or 17 now? That could definitely be amended. Maybe enough people aren't making any noise about it, but reason I bring that up is because I saw today, you know, I haven't been using Twitter that much. I might get to that in this podcast, but I did hop on today and see a tweet from Agent Zero saying he was not invited to Community Day, and that was interesting to me because he's got 1 million subs, probably one of the most prominent and most watched 2K YouTubers out there right now, and to my knowledge, he was at Community Day last year. Now, the other thing with Agent is that he always keeps it real with 2K. He always makes a ton of videos about their shortcomings. And you know, I thought about that. I thought about it because I was like, wow, for as, you know, as real as he keeps it and how he never kisses ass, he still got to Community Day last year. So I wondered about that because I really thought they wouldn't bring somebody like him on, and lo and behold, this year they don't bring him on. Now, that was just something interesting to note. I'm not sure because I heard that Flight has made it this year to Community Day, and apparently he has criticism for 2K2. Forgive me if I got that wrong. I really don't watch him a whole lot. I really don't watch him at all. I just know who he is, and that's something that I heard. But yeah, Community Day and the whole community outreach thing, that's always been very interesting to me because personally, I don't think I'm ever going to be invited, just because if my track record was looked at, it would be seen that when there's some bullshit, I've definitely called that out in the past. And if I was ever invited to a community day, I would keep it 100 and I would just be like, yo, how is this? Why is this in the game? How is this here? Just the very simple things. Like I said, I've got an appreciation for like the art of the game and all the work that different features take. But then the parts that are just dead lazy, I wonder, are the people who are invited to community day, do they point that stuff out? Is it going to be anybody in community day who asked the developers about, hey, illegal screens basically made the game unplayable at a certain point because I had to deal with the fact that my superstar big man might pick up 2 unnecessary fouls early on in the game. Is anyone going to mention that? Because if that's still in the game, I'm really going to wonder, what do they fly y'all out for? And then there's other things that I guess it doesn't matter who said what about. There's just nothing 2K would ever do, because what I'm specifically thinking about is microtransactions, and as far as I know, the development of games has a lot to do with stockholders who don't even know anything about games these days. They just want to know about profit. So when you think of it that way, no matter how much feedback 2K gets about, pay to win or this, that, or the other thing, microtransactions are always going to be a huge part of the game. And that was a sucky realization. That's just something about the gaming industry today, period, because I made a 2K video probably about 3 weeks ago talking about features that should not be in 2K20. However, in that video, I also offered up solutions because I didn't want to just come off as complaining. And a lot of the solutions I came up with, I was like, as I was making the video, I was like, you hear it in the commentary, I'm like, wait, damn, that wouldn't work because of microtransactions. For instance, the play now online problem, one thing that I said was, the mode is so bad that people don't even play it at all anymore. Well, one thing is, 2K hasn't found a way to monetize that mode, so they don't care if anybody plays it. That's the first part. But then I was saying to actually make that a playable mode again, and to make it to where people would actually use other teams, because that's one of the reasons Play Now exists the way it does now, is because they don't want people to use the same team every match. So I was like, okay, then how about incentivize people by giving away gear in that mode that you could only get by playing that mode. So gear for your My Player, gear that you could wear in the park. But hey, what do? They sell gear. That's money for them. There's no way in the hell they're gonna do that. That's how they can answer to their stockholders. That's how they can turn over a massive profit. So yeah, that's just, that kind of stuff is just the state of gaming, and there's not much you can really do about that. But anyways, going into 2K20, look man, I'm not about to give some like righteous speech about how I just hope we have a great year and have a great game and it's just the best game ever, because the reality is I don't know how many of y'all noticed, but this is actually probably going to be the last game that's released on the PS4 and Xbox One that's specifically for these consoles. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but this time next year we're probably looking at a PS5 launch, are we not? From the latest information that we have, it appears that we will have a new PlayStation and a new Xbox by holiday season 2020. So we're gonna have an election, then new consoles all coming out at once. Wow, how are your brains gonna process next holiday season? Anyways, with that being true, one of the first games that's probably going to launch for these consoles is going to be NBA 2K21. So by my estimations, whatever they're doing for 2K20, they've probably got a team really working on like the new game in the next generation of consoles. And so that means we probably won't even have anything drastically different this year or anything groundbreaking. That's what I think. Who knows? If I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong. Anyways, as I'm talking about that, because I just sent out a tweet about it now that it's really on my mind for the first time, I wonder how they're going to treat 2K on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One after it comes out for the 5 and whatever the next Xbox is, because you guys know what happens to 2K, right? On the current gen console, quote, or the old gen console, once it becomes the old gen console, they really don't change anything. Agent Zero actually had very good videos about that. He bought, what was it, NBA 2K18 I think for the PS3, and it really looks like NBA 2K13 with some updated cyber faces, I swear. It really, after the PS4 came out, it's like they used NBA 2K13 as the base game and literally just patched it every year. And that's interesting though, because it does not feel like we've spent, what is this, 6 years now with the PS4 and Xbox One? And by 2020 it'll be 7 years. It just doesn't feel that way though. And so many people have these consoles. The stat just came out that the PS4 has now sold what, like 150 million, some crazy number. Yeah, they've sold so many units. But again, remember that when we look at 2K, we're looking at it relative to each year, and that these consoles have gotten not as powerful as PCs, but they've gotten good to the point that we pop a game like NBA 2K19 in and look at cyber faces and players that are relatively lifelike, and we're not really impressed anymore because like it just seems like there's so little advancement for them to actually make. Anyways, where I'm going with this is I just wonder, once the PS5 comes out, how much focus do they even give NBA 2K21, which I'm assuming will be the one where they start splitting between consoles. How much focus do they even give that on the PS4 anymore? Because so many people are still going to be playing it. I know people out there right now are like, damn, I gotta buy a new console. Like, because the thing that happened when the PS4 first came out, I know there wasn't a whole lot of games for a while, so people probably stuck to their PS3s for a good amount of time, which gives them the feeling that they have not been with their PS4 for so long. So how long will it be before they actually upgrade to these new consoles? And what will the new consoles even bring? Man, I wonder. I really do wonder. Because when NBA 2K14 came out, you gotta understand, people like me, that game looks so good. I'll never forget the shock and awe that I was in when I popped it in for the first time. And I could not imagine. I was like, man, this is the first game for this console. How can this possibly get better? And hey, guess what? The overall look of the game did not. The players got more detailed, but if you take NBA 2K14 and place it next to 19, 14 is giving it a run for its money. That's a 5-year-old game. So you wonder, even with new hardware, and especially once you're introduced to the worlds of PC and you know that PC is so much better than consoles, you wonder like, man, how much better are these games going to get? When we're playing 2K21, presumably on the PS5, is it really going to blow my PlayStation 4 away? Are these players really going to look so much better than they look on the PS4 right now? I really wonder, man. I really wonder, because even in the jump from the PS2 to the PS3, you guys remember that, right? That was a huge jump. Well, you jump from the PS3 to the PS4, and it's a big jump, but it's not so big that the games just look completely obsolete. At least they didn't from day one. That's what I'm trying to say. From day one that I got PS3, there was nothing I could play on PS2 that impressed me anymore, and I feel like it did not work that way with the jump from the 3 to the 4, and I'm not expecting that it will from 4 to the 5. I'm not having those unrealistic expectations. With the sports games it did, yeah. NBA 2K14 for the PS4 killed 2K13 on the PS3, so sports games, yeah. Other games, I think it took a little while to see that magnificent jump. Anyways, yeah, it seems that it's about that time, because I just did the counting on my fingers, and from 2K7 to 2K13, that was 7 individual 2Ks. From 2K14 to 2K20, that is also going to be 7 individual 2Ks. So, as crazy as that is, my friends, yes, it does seem that we have arrived at the end of this generation of consoles. 2K for the PS4, people don't, you know, they're not even talking about it and they don't even notice it, but this is actually, in all likelihood, the last one, unless we get some surprise announcement that consoles aren't coming till 2021. That's insane, man. Time flies. Anyways, time has flown on this podcast, and I'm actually going to end it here. When I'm not solo, we normally go to about an hour, but solo, I am not going to drag it on anymore. I could have done a couple more topics. I think I will save those for next week. Remember to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram and let me know topics about anything besides politics that you would like to hear about. I was going to bring that on for today, but got a big day tomorrow, so I think I'm going to save that. Remember that this podcast is also on Spotify. It is on iTunes, link in the description in the comment section. Make sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and hit the bell next to the channel name if you want notifications when this drops every Saturday morning. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.